Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Hannibal, Season 2, Episode 7, Yakimono. Alonso Duralde, William Bibbiani, Ryan Turek. It is fried or grilled foods. I'm not really quite sure how that ties in, but
Chilton gets grilled pretty hard once Jack Crawford takes him into custody, and that's how it works.
Miriam's pretty fried when we find her.
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
She's not doing well.
No.
So again, what's the end game here? What's
the real
What
question.
is the diabolical plan? Because we now have Will Graham cleared by the Ripper.
Yeah.
And with a new fall guy being set up. But how do we do we now think the ear, just they know it was a plant, the one that they found in Will's
There's a
gullet?
lot of stuff like that I'm wondering, why aren't we going back to that? Chilton's the only one who really brought up the ear thing at the end of this episode.
The ear that Will swallow.
Yeah, the ear that Will swallows. And then, what's up with Jack Crawford through this whole thing? Because he seems to flip-flop, and he's like the only...
I feel like part of Hannibal's plan in the previous episode was to make it so that Jack couldn't reasonably accuse him anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was still a viable suspect yesterday.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't take Miriam last to see him to get unhypnotized.
Right.
There have got to be more than two psychiatrists
I
in
know.
the world. It's not just Chilton or Hannibal.
When she's bringing him, I thought, oh come on! When does he get isolated from all this? I know the show's called Hannibal and all, but I mean, come on.
There are certain things, listen, I love the show and actually really like this episode a lot, but there's a couple of things that, you're right, they seem to get forgotten or glossed over. For example, we learned in the last few episodes that Hannibal basically hypnotized Will with his whole flashing light scheme, but he did it all off camera last season, which feels like a little bit of a cheat to me. But on top of it, he had viral encephalitis. Like, what a coincidence, And here we find out that Hannibal is also, not only had he kidnapped Miriam this whole time, but he would have to have been programming her to finger Chilton unironically this whole time. So this must have been a plan all along. Like, he knew Chilton was a douche. This is the only reason he hasn't killed Chilton yet, is because Chilton's been his stooge all along. Yeah. So that works. And again, we're seeing, like, I was curious at the end of the last episode, was Miriam being released all part of Hannibal's plan, or was that going to be the thing that screwed him up?
And now he's holding that card, like, why not just accuse Chilton off the bat? Why drag Will into all this?
Because if Jack gets to come up with it himself, it's like Inception. If he gets to come up with it himself, he's going to believe it more. If it comes from Hannibal, if Hannibal says, well, what about Chilton? Hannibal, he might go, well, okay, but you're the one who said that.
It seems like a lot of work.
It's so much work.
There's a lot of work being thrown into this.
The scheme is getting kind of almost like the end of Sleepy Hollow complicated, where it's like
you
list
of families.
Yeah, it's just like just you wanted to kill someone. That's the end of it. It's getting really intricate to the point of getting really implausible.
I admire the hours that Hannibal finds in a day to compose music, the exquisite calligraphy on those recipe cards. Who's cleaning that house?
The preparation
he cannot have a maid, right? No, it's ridiculous.
He must sleep 30 minutes a night.
But that's part of the fantasy of Hannibal. Hannibal is one of those great villains that we respect. We respect him because he's good at what he does. We respect him because he's intelligent and polite and artistic. So, like, we just sort of, like, he's the Superman of serial killers. So we want to believe he's capable of all of this. That's half the fun of it. Let
me ask you something really quick. Did you see vulnerability in him when Will held the gun up to his head? Or do you think that was just feigned? Because, I mean, like, he knows that he's not going to pull the trigger.
Does he?
But I think so.
There was a flinch.
I don't think I don't think he predicted that Will would send a serial killer after him a couple episodes ago.
Maybe his guard was let down a little bit by that.
I think he's starting to realize that Will isn't completely under his control, and that when he flinched, I was like, that's about as much humanity as Hannibal is going to show in the situation. It's like, I could die, prefer not to. Like, that's what we get out of Hannibal in that situation. Yeah. No, I think he's probably aware that he's going to die and that it's probably going to have something to do with the life he leads at some point. Right. So he's probably just mentally prepared for it.
On the other hand, I do think that at some point he figures that the one thing that may be keeping him alive is everybody wanting to know how it all comes out.
Yes.
And wanting to unravel this mystery, and him, and not only his desire to play that card, but other people's desire to see that card is what's keeping him alive.
He's playing with everyone's curiosity.
Yeah.
And it's a good move. It works very, 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 very well.
Yeah.
Was anyone else kind of disappointed? I mean, it keeps the season going, which of course we needed because we're not done with it yet. But we find Miriam last at the end of the last episode, and then I forgot what he looks like. I mean, yeah, it's part of Hannibal's plot, but was anyone else just like, oh, god damn it, god damn it? Like, was anyone else frustrated by
a
that?
Little bit, yeah. I mean, this episode, I mean, I've loved the last 2 episodes. This one left me a little bit frustrated overall. I didn't love it. I thought it was very good because I was telling you earlier, I feel like Hannibal does a really great episode, and then they do a segue episode where they're just trying to plug in some information, and then they'll hit us with something
afterwards. Will really
so the next week is going to be amazing, you know. But yeah, the whole thing with Miriam just felt like this weird back and forth. When they came up with the fingerprint evidence, and they were like, well, it's it could be Dr. Chilton or it could be Hannibal. What are we gonna do? Right. Bring them both in. And it's like, okay, that's convenient. It's just there's just a lot of circular things going on.
One of the great frame-up jobs I have ever seen is Chilton coming home to find his bags are packed. He's got Gideon cut up and cut into steaks in the cellar. He wakes up covered in blood. It's like, whoa, somebody put some thought into that.
Gideon can't eat meat. We've actually established this. How is that not some plausible deniability about him being a cannibal?
Wait, you mean Chilton?
I'm sorry, Chilton. Yes,
well,
I'm sorry, Chilton.
Chilton has told people that he can't eat meat.
Oh, I see.
Who's to say that he wasn't just covering his tracks?
I will say that this episode, I've liked Chilton more and more than I ever have, just because I'm starting to feel bad for him.
Because the walls are coming down on him?
The walls are coming down on him, and he's so kind of adorable when he's vulnerable. Like, he runs to Will's, doesn't even change his shirt. It's like, help! Like, it's so cute.
I like that his first instinct is to just book it in the snow, and I love that final look on his face, covered in snow, sweating, and that's it. He is a man resigned to this, and he's like, I'm going to be dealing with this.
And he goes to Will, too, just because Will's the only person who believes him, and you feel really bad. And does anyone believe, let's talk about the ending real fast, is Chilton dead because he got shot in the cheek? He got shot Fight Club style.
He did, but it looked like the exit wound really came out the back of his head. Not like, I mean...
Yeah, when Brian Fuller on Facebook actually posted a diagram that somebody did of how he would survive that. I mean, again, this show's a prequel, and I don't think they're going to mess too hard with any of these characters that they want to be able to use later, and that we know in the existing mythology exist later. So
you're saying Chilton's alive?
I think Chilton's alive as well, but I am saying it'd be a very bold move if they just said, screw it, he's dead.
Exactly.
Because then the safety is off, and they could do anything.
Well, I think that if anything, they're setting up the Chilton that we come to know later and why he is the way he is.
Particularly towards Hannibal. He does love his petty torment.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if they did kill him, it would pave the way for Dr. Bloom's role to become much more significant. She could become a Chilton-esque character.
That would be kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that.
Because once they do capture Hannibal, spoiler alert, then
she'll feel extra betrayed.
Listen, man, after last night on Twitter and all these spoilers, what Stephen King pulled, I mean, come on. But I mean, I think that was my theory. If they did indeed take the risk of killing Chilton, then Dr. Bloom has a significant role to be played.
Getting back to just how complicated Hannibal's plan, though, I found myself, I don't usually like to do what if the show went in a different direction, because that's not really criticism, but at the same time, I'm like, wouldn't it almost have been easier to just turn Miriam over to his side? Like, if you look at Hannibal the book, at the end, it's very different from Hannibal the movie, and Clarice actually ends up going, delicious human. Yeah. And what if they had just gone with that direction? Just Miriam is now Hannibal's protege, and this was all. I almost thought that would have been more insidious. It would have given them another villain to fight, and at the same time, just I'm so complicatedly programmed. Was he showing her pictures of Chilton?
Right.
How did she get to know it was exactly Chilton?
It just feels very Dexter-esque of her to be some kind of protege, and I don't like any of that. I'm sorry.
No Dexter. We're done.
We're done.
We're done with Dexter. Dexter is dead. Long live Hannibal.
We still have new characters being introduced this season.
Do we?
Yes. What's his face got cast Boardwalk Empire?
Oh right, yeah. Michael Pitt hasn't shown up yet.
Well, I remind myself of this every single episode.
Is he playing Gary Oldman?
Yes.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes.
I thought this was the episode where they were going to introduce him, but apparently that's coming up still.
Catherine Isabel. Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps films.
I love her.
Yeah, she plays the sister.
Oh, that's
cool. We still have more to come. I'm just
damn.
Yeah.
I love the show. even when the show kind of ticks me off, even the frustration I felt at the beginning of the episode when it turned out that Miriam had forgotten what Hannibal looked like, it was still just god damn it. Well, at least I get more Hannibal. Yeah. It's not just going to wrap up again.
Yeah, I look at it this way. This is an annual minus commercials, 8-hour movie basically that we're seeing. So it's like, every moment may not pop, but overall, I think we're seeing something really extraordinary unfold.
And as long as the filler episodes that you're talking about, as long as they're not interminable. Like I gave up on Walking Dead this season just because it felt like everyone wandering through the woods. Everyone wandering through the woods was just like, oh God, just get somewhere. I don't care. And I gave up because I was bored.
Right.
I'm not bored. This was a fun episode. I liked seeing Chilton framed. That was a fun way to go. I am frustrated with Jack because seriously,
Jack is frustrating me, but don't get me wrong. When I say that I was kind of a little bit disappointed by it, it doesn't mean like my level of disappointment. Walking Dead's down here, Hannibal's right here, and this is where Hannibal's great here.
And I think that one of the great things about the flash forward that we get at the beginning of the season is that it allows us to see Jack miss the boat time and time again and still know in the back of our mind that he's going to get it. He's going to be on it.
Do you have any theories or ideas or ways that you'd like to see where he just finally is Crawford just going to be fed his wife at the end of the episode? And it was like, this tastes familiar. I don't. What's it going to be? What's the final thing going to be?
I don't know. And the thing is also, does Hannibal make a mistake, does he sort of allow himself to make a mistake because he's tired of the game?
Well, wasn't that the whole thing? That's how Will ultimately catches Hannibal. Is Hannibal makes one slip up, and because I remember
I thought it was that Will just sort of intuited something because that's what he was like, and I don't think
read the book and see Manhunter again.
If memory serves it in Red Dragon, they don't go into too much detail about it, but I could be wrong. Someone's correcting me on YouTube already. I think that's the sort of thing they can fudge and that they can play with, because obviously in the book it was Will who just figured it out, and now it's way more intricate and complex than that. So Crawford's going to have to be the one. It's going to come together. I'm just curious. I would hate it though if it was something as simple as Hannibal speaking out of terms, like at the end of House of Games or something. Where it's just wait a minute, you said you weren't there, and Hannibal's like, whoops. I don't want that. No,
it'll be juicier than Bill Paxton revealing himself to be the clairvoyant on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was, I think. So, yes,
poor Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Maybe Hannibal serves Twinkies. Twinkies and some Budweiser. Oh, shit.
So whatever it is.
Drunk Hannibal.
Whatever it is, we'll be here to watch it, so come back.